Okay, is it working? Is it working? Yes, I do believe we are live. Finally, sorry about that. I tried to start it up and then it crashed, and so I had to reboot, and then I had to pull up this Ubuntu VM that I'm looking at right now. But we're finally on here. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, we'll see some people in the chat, and we might get some people in voice chat. Esso stopped by a second ago. I'm not sure where he went off to because I crashed. But what I thought I would do is I did that squirrel live stream, which is linked below if you want to watch that. And that's where I showed you this amazing new software that completely replaces usernames and passwords. And I mean, it just does a beautiful job. It does it securely. You're only identified to the server by a public key, and it creates a different, unique one for each site. And you can have it on your desktop machine and your phone and all sorts of other places. So what I didn't show you was going through the process of creating the initial identity. I talked about that, but I didn't actually show it. So I thought I'd go step by step. And this time I'm using the Squirrel client from GRC. This is the Windows client. It's one you're probably going to be using. Last time I used the browser extension, but I'll show it to you here in the client. This is probably the most feature rich. This and I think the Android clients are the most feature rich, and maybe the iOS client too, I would imagine, because Jeff Arthur, the guy who's doing it, I think it was the first one other than Steve Gibson to be working on one of these clients. So I imagine it's feature complete, but I don't have an iOS device, so I can't personally attest to that. But anyway, so we'll go through the process of creating an identity. When you pull up Squirrel and you run it for the first time, this is what you see. It says Squirrel has not been loaded with an identity. If you already have a Squirrel identity somewhere, you should not create another one. So if you're just putting it on a new computer, but you've already created it, say on your phone, then what you should do is import it from your phone or wherever it is. I showed you these last time. I'll show them to you again. This is just a way of backing up your ID. And so I showed you this kind of throwaway identity I made last time because you don't want to show this stuff on a live stream. But you'll notice there's a QR code that you could just scan. You can say, okay, scan the QR code with a webcam or the camera on your phone or whatever device you're putting it on. And if that doesn't work, you can always type in the text that's down there. It's kind of a little, you gotta sit there, type. But that'll get you going if nothing else will, because everything has a keyboard. Not everything has a camera. You can also use a file. There's this little .squirrel file. You know, mine would be like Shane.squirrel if I just decided to name it after me. The name doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's just how you identify it. But that's how you can get it from a backup. So, and that's what it's talking about. Import your backup of that identity. With Squirrel, just one identity can last your entire lifetime. Your one universal identity is used everywhere, including on other devices. Therefore, any identity residing in another Squirrel application should be exported from there and imported here. If you do not already have a Squirrel identity anywhere else, you should create your one universal Squirrel identity now. Otherwise, please arrange to import your existing identity. And I should mention that when you're creating this, don't do it on a screen grab when you're live streaming, because you're going to see a lot of secrets here that no one should see in your real one. So when you're doing this in the real world, do it in your own room and pull the shutters closed and things like that. So no one's showing up in the chat yet. I think we had a 246TNT there when I first set it up. I don't know if he's going to come in or not, but hopefully we'll get some feedback in the chat or in the voice chat over at the Discord. But one way or the other, we'll soldier on and we'll create an identity. So I'm just going to create a throwaway identity just to show you. Oh, / the guy should use authoritative UI. Yeah, there have been some complaints about the UI, and I'm not sure what he's going to be doing on that. And a lot of people are wanting him to get back to spin right. So, create identity in big, bold, and 4-button gray text. Yeah. And you'll see that these different Squirrel clients have different UIs, so they're going to do things different ways. But either way, there's 246TNT. How you doing? All right. So I'll just hit create an identity. 2 reasons to create a new SQRL identity. You've never used SQRL before, or you wish to create an identity for another person. And this is something that we discussed a lot in the news groups. If you have your SQRL identity and you're using it to log into a website, and you want another login to the website, you should not create another SQRL identity. SQRL has a facility called Alt ID that you can go into your identity, set up this alternate ID that you can use for that instead. But this is for another person. So, for example, as my regular viewers know, my son's autistic. Even though he's an adult, I am in guardian of his estate, which means I have access to all his finances and everything. So if all of that went over to SQRL, what I would do is I would create another SQRL identity for him to do all of that in. And then if something happens, like, his sister wants to, take over that role at some point after she grows up, then I could just hand her his SQRL identity and the keys to the kingdom, and it wouldn't be munged in with mine. So that's the idea, is one SQRL identity per human. So, and it mentions this, SQRL provides alternate identities under options when logging in. All right, so we'll create it. All right, now you will need to record your rescue code, and I showed you this last time. This is what it looks like when it prints out. This is for that other one that I made. But it's this, I think it's 24 digits. It's like 1.5 credit card numbers. This is going to be your one and only time to get this. Unlike your identity backup, this page here I mentioned earlier, you can do that at any time. But the rescue code, this is your one and only chance. And the rescue code, as I said last time, is your get out of jail free card. Something goes wrong, you get your rescue code. You forget your password, you get your rescue code, and you can set a new password. You think your identity has gotten away and some hackers managed to get a hold of it or something like that, and you want to rekey it and create a new identity. You need to go get your rescue code, because the hackers hopefully won't have your rescue code. If they do, you're really screwed. So again, don't show it on a live stream like I'm going to do. So all right, so yes, and it shows you that it will need to be recreated later. It must be written or printed now. Oh, by the way, since we're talking UI, I do want to say one thing. This is Ubuntu running on Wine, and I think some of the UI elements are a little screwy on that. But it must never be stored inside your computer. Write it down. Put it somewhere secure. I have mine in a fireproof folder in a place that locks. And if you can get to that place, then it's already over and you've owned me anyway. So, all right. So you can print it or you can write it down. It says if you are able to permanently and privately, again, do this, in your room with the blinds closed and everything. Record or print your new SQRL identity rescue code now. Press next. Otherwise, cancel and come back later. Now, this is crucial. We are not kidding about this rescue code. All right. So, it says choose the name for your identity. I'm just going to call this do not use. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But I'm just going to remind myself never to use this one because it's just a demo for the live stream and everything's going to be compromised on this. Daniel, how you doing?
Hey, just popping in to say hi. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see you. And John Smith says, make login great again. Maybe in the future, SQRL identities could grow into a full-blown Chinese social rating score. I actually don't know how that could happen, actually, because your SQRL ID is just a public key. It's just garbage, and it's different for every website. So if you have this on Amazon and you have it on Facebook, it's going to create a completely different identity for it, and the two cannot be associated. So I don't think it could actually do that. So that's a good thing. All right, so I'm just going to call this do not use. You can call it whatever you want. It's just a visual thing for your sake. Doesn't affect the functioning at all. All right, so now here's the rescue code. I want to display it or print it. So I'll hit display, and I'm going to write it down because it's going to confirm this because this is important. 477 6452. I know this isn't particularly interesting, but it's necessary. 6947 4650 7826 2291. All right. So I've got it now on a post-it. Again, never do this on a live stream. This is absolutely private. No one else must ever get this rescue code. We're not kidding about that. All right, so when I click next, it's going to verify it just to make sure I've written it down correctly. 077 6452 6947 4650 7826 2291. And it didn't turn green. It's supposed to turn green. I did something wrong. 077 6452 6947 4650 78. Do I need to put the dashes in? That would be weird if I had to put the dashes in. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. We'll go back. Display rescue code 4077 6452 6947 4650 7826 2291. All right, we'll try this again. 4077 6452 6947 4650 7826 2291. Okay, something's gone wrong here. This I've done this several times, and this is the first time this has happened here, so I'm not really sure what went on. Just to let you know, that last number, that 1 is a check digit, and it's going to make sure everything else is typed in properly. And 6452 6947. Maybe I should go all the way back and retry it. I'll tell you what, I'll cancel out of it. And we'll try creating it again. Okay. Do not use display rescue code. Okay, different one this time. Hopefully this one will work. Of course, it would be on a live stream when I'm demonstrating it that it would fail. So 9612, yeah, 6037 5636 8513 4700. I don't think wine would have anything to do with this. I mean, it should work the same thing whether it's on Windows or not. Heading next. 3463 9612 6037 5636 8513 4700. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. It all turns green and all of this is good, and so I can hit next and do this. I have no idea why it failed the first time. I've never seen that before. But you just go out, go in, try it again. That's computers for you. All right, protect this new identity with the password. So the password is going to be the way you'd ordinarily protect your SQRL identity on your computer. This has nothing to do with how you're logging in. What it's going to do is it's going to take this password and it's going to turn it into an encryption key to encrypt your local identity. But I mean, you can change your password all you want, and it's not going to affect your identity at all, because all it does is do the encryption. So you want a good, strong password, and it's just one that you have to remember for all of your SQRL identities. So you can pick a good, strong one, like a good Diceware password. Just for our purposes here today, I'm just going to use QWERTY 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right. Don't use that. Use a good, strong one. Make a good Diceware password or something like that. I am seeing those as watergun / so it might depend on the font or whatever. Actually, I'm looking on the screen, and I'm seeing water guns. I'm looking over in the live chat itself, the real chat, and I'm seeing revolvers. So, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the font. So, anyway. Think you swapped one of the numbers in fourth set. I might have done that. It might be completely my fault, and people who are going back watching this video is like, "You dummy! Why didn't you realize you'd done that?" But oh well, it was just easier to go back and try it again. All right, QWERTY123456 is our password, so I verify that. Set new password. Now you'll notice it's taking time here going through and creating these encryption keys. That's important because if someone gets a hold of your identity and they want to try hacking your password, they have to try one password, then another, then another. What we're trying to do is make it so that, and you'll see this in action, that it takes 5 seconds to try each password. And it's memory hard as well as processor hard, so even if they move it over to a faster machine, if the memory isn't faster, it's not going to help them a whole lot. All right, so then doing the backup or export, that is where you'll print out this page that I was showing you earlier. It'll look different from this one, but you can display the QR code, and that, like if you want to go ahead and put it in your phone, and you got the SQRL app on your phone, you can play the QR code. Store it in a file. That's the other way we saw this earlier when I was talking about importing, and put it in the file to import it, or print it out. That's what makes this thing here. So you can do any of those. Now, printing is generally for long-term storage. You'll notice there are a couple of options up here. So these options, this first one, allow backup decryption with either the password or the rescue code. If you're just importing from one device to another, like going from your desktop to your phone or whatever, then you can just do it with the password and it'll have the same password there and it'll be fine. The other option is to require the rescue code. That's what I would recommend for long-term backup when you're printing it out to store it somewhere, because you might not even remember the password anyway. But if someone gets a hold of that piece of paper, it would be useless to them unless they also get the rescue code. So if you stored those in 2 different places, it'll be nice and secure. So this is a throwaway identity, so I'm not going to worry about doing that. But, all right. And then it talks a little bit about storing your identity and rescue code. What I just said, store them apart from each other, so if either one was discovered, the other would be secret. Because if you put them together and someone gets to where that is, then they'd be able to get both, and then they own your whole life. So there might be situations where you'd want to do that. Like, for example, you'll want your heirs probably to be able to log into your banking site and everything, just to make it easier for them to do everything when it's your time to go. So what you could do is print out both pieces of paper and then give them to your probate attorney. And at least in this country, we have really strong attorney-client privilege, so that the government, no one else is going to be saying, "No, you need to give us this." They won't do it, and probate attorneys have really strong integrity about that. If you use any other devices with SQRL to log into the internet, you should keep your identity synchronized by copying this new identity into them as well. This is especially important if you have rekeyed an existing identity. So we want one SQRL identity that we use for everywhere. So if I create the SQRL identity here, I don't want to create it on the phone. I want to import it from here to the phone. Now, if I do that, and then I go to all sorts of places on my desktop, I go to Facebook and Amazon and everywhere else, and they've all implemented SQRL and is creating all of these identities on these different websites. I do not have to synchronize it to my phone. And that's a cool thing about SQRL. It doesn't have to keep those in sync anyhow, because it's all deterministic math. When your phone goes to those with the same SQRL identity, it's going to do the same math and come up with the same unique identity for each website. However, if, like I said earlier, you think your identity has gotten away from you and you want to rekey, and so you go and grab your rescue code and then you come in and you rekey, like if I were to rekey it on the desktop, I would need to re-import it on all my other devices that have it, and print it out again and replace the paper backup and all that. So that's a case where I would need to import it over. But I don't need to import it over just because I've logged into a new website. That's the beautiful thing about that. And most of us should not have to rekey even once in our entire lifetime. That's how secure this is. So, John Smith, isn't this a bit too heavy for mobile? It absolutely is not. It works beautifully on mobile. People even have JavaScript versions or Java versions that could run on a feature phone. It is very lightweight. It uses standard crypto. All the crypto is available in libsodium. And so it's actually... The reason why this is so heavy for servers is because you might have hundreds or thousands of people all whamming on the server trying to log in at the same time. With Squirrel, you only ever have one. So now it will be better protected on a faster device, because when I showed you earlier, and you'll see it again where it goes through and it times out that 5 seconds, it's going to be able to do a stronger version of that on a desktop than it would on a weaker phone, but it's gonna kind of adapt itself for what it's running on. You'll see it. So we hit next, and I think this is just some more informational stuff here. Okay, so if you use a non-Microsoft browser such as Chrome or Firefox, mine should already be set up. Copy browser setup URL, and then launch that in the browser, and we'll just do OK. And we can go through these settings here in a minute, but I'm just going to go ahead and close, and let's see if this works then. So I have the demo page here. So I'm just going to click sign in with Squirrel and see what happens. Hopefully everything's gone wrong today, from the crash that caused me to start 20 minutes late to the rescue code on the first one, but we'll see what happens. It should pop. There we go. So all I did was click sign in with Squirrel. Now, since this is the first time I'm signing on, I'll need to type in that full password, the QWERTY 123456. It's not doing it. It has this problem on Linux. It works on Windows, but on Linux it has this problem not getting focus. I think that's a wine thing. 5, 6. There we go. Now, when I click OK, watch how it takes 5 seconds to go through that. All right. So it's going to take 5 seconds to see if this password is valid. That's not an artificial delay that it's going to do just to say, oh, well, we're just going to make it do, because that doesn't work. Because the way hackers do it is, you've probably seen this on websites. Well, you've typed it in wrong 3 times, so we're going to make you wait 15 minutes to type it in again. That's useless. That's not how hackers crack these things. They use their own scripts for it. What Squirrel does is make it so that 5 seconds is how long it takes to do the math. And it's got to crunch away on all that math to see if the password is valid or not. And in this case it was, so I'm logged in, and it says Squirrel demonstration. The credentials supplied do not match a known account. Not a big surprise since we just created this. Can be some way to attach Squirrel with fake blockchain technology and rake in millions in venture capital. I'm not even sure how that would work. I guess Squirrel could interface with a blockchain. It just creates a public key, and you could do that, but I'm not doing this. All right, so yeah, create new account. It doesn't need a blockchain. It doesn't need any third party. I said this last time. You're not beholden to GRC or any other corporation or anyone. This is a full, open, public domain standard. So, account friendly name. I'll just do Shane's live stream throwaway. Just to let you know when I try this again that I'm signing in with the same identity. No, it's not a SQL attack. This is Squirrel. It's completely different. Squirrel stands for Secure, Quick, Reliable Login. Right. So, update information. All right, so I know you're joking. I know. Just making sure. All right, so I'm going to log out. Now, since I've logged in, and since things haven't timed out, and I'll show you these settings, if I go back and I sign in again, or I sign into a different website, what it's going to ask me for now is it's called the Quick Pass. And it just says enter the first 4 characters of your Squirrel password. So you don't have to keep typing it in over and over and over and over and over again for every website you visit. In this case, I would just go QWER. I don't even have to type enter, and boom, it's in. So I'm back in to the same one, and that's pretty cool. So. Hey, no one's joining me on voice chat, which is disappointing. I was kind of hoping to have a little conversation about this kind of stuff, but I do want to show you some of the setup stuff. Ordinarily, this would be in your system tray. For some reason, Ubuntu is doing something screwy with it. It's not showing up in the tray, so mine's doing its own thing. But anyway, if you okay, there we go. Right click on it, and you can go to Manage Squirrel. Again, this would ordinarily be down in your system tray, but this is where you get those options that you saw earlier. It's not showing you identity management functions. If I click this, it will show you. And this is importing an identity, creating another identity. This is where you would go if you would want to rekey your identity, if you think it's gotten away from you. Rekey is down there, and then rename. But anyway, won't worry about that. We'll just look at view and change settings. So the top one here is set quick pass length. It doesn't have to be 4 characters. If you're the more paranoid type, you can set it to something big, or turn it off entirely. That's enable quick pass down here. You can turn it off. Or if you're really lazy, you can just do 1 character. So if I do that and I hit save, I'm going to disable darkening because that doesn't work very well on Linux. What it's talking about is like on Windows. You've seen this when you install stuff. It darkens the screen and then it pops up, do you want to install this as an administrator? Squirrel does the same thing to let you know that yes, this is Squirrel doing it, and it's not some hacker's website trying to fake you out. But it doesn't work very well on Linux. But anyway. So now that I've changed that, this time if I go to sign in with Squirrel, and it pops up, and I type in Q, I have to click it first. I type in Q, that's it. I didn't even have to type enter. So you can just do it with 1 key press if you want. So KeyPass is similar to Squirrel. No, KeyPass is a password manager. So the way KeyPass works is it saves passwords for all your websites. So this is something completely different. If you're, and I've talked about LastPass before, it's the same kind of thing. And you have to keep it synchronized among all your devices. Yeah, so this is completely different. Like with KeyPass and LastPass, the server doesn't have to support it because it's just putting in your password as though you had typed it. This does require the server to support it, but if it does, it's just the public key that logs you in. So it's actually completely different. Although they could easily incorporate a Squirrel client into KeyPass or LastPass. So if they wanted to do that. Let me go back and show you some more of the options. Okay, set password verify time. As I said, that's 5 seconds because that's how long it takes it to crunch through the math to do it. And you only have to do that once per session, and we'll talk about when that goes away, and it'll be the quick pass the rest of the time. But you can set this to however many seconds you want, and some people on the news group have said they're ultra paranoid, and they set it to 120 seconds. It's like 2 minutes, and they're like, yeah, I'll just get up in the morning, go ahead and type it in, and then do something else while it's crunching away with it, and then use the quick pass the rest of the day. And then if someone grabs it, the hacker would have a really difficult time trying to brute force their password. Check for updates. You'd want to do all of that. Darken is turned off because it's not available here on Linux. Now these last two here, request only SQRL login and request no account recovery. This is another little, it got cut off. That's something else that kind of happens over here in Wine. It looks much better on Windows, trust me. But all right, request only SQRL login. You wouldn't want to check these until you're really used to using SQRL and are confident you can do it. But you can check request only SQRL login, which says, get rid of my old username and password, because I don't want a hacker to try and log in with that. Without this checked, if you're caught without your SQRL client, you need to log in. You can still get in with your old password, but then a hacker would be able to get in too. Hey Shane, what OS? Well, this is written for Windows. I'm running it here on Linux under Wine. They also have it for Android and iOS, and there's also a browser plugin that they have it for Mozilla and Chrome, which of course covers like all of the Chromium browsers, like Brave, or like Edge will be next month when the Chromium version comes out. So, but request only SQRL login means don't use the what OS do you use? My production machine I use Windows, and everywhere else I use Linux. So Linux is on my laptop, it's on my server. And the second one is request no account recovery. And so this is where you have a situation where you call them up or contact customer support or whatever, I forgot my password, help me log in, and they'll say do that. If you check this, then they're not supposed to do that. They're going to say, well, no, you've checked it so that only SQRL can log in, so you need to go and get your SQRL client and do it. SQRL has no way of policing these, by the way. This is just something that you can request, but we've seen all sorts of hackers do social engineering. They call someone, your bank, and claim to be you and get your password and get in, or get a new password that they set up, and they can get in with that. This checkbox is supposed to prevent that, but we can't really enforce that. What distro of Linux? It's Ubuntu on my laptop and straight Debian on my server. Although I am checking out LMDE, Linux Mint Debian Edition, because it's based on straight Debian without going on that round trip through Ubuntu. So I might switch over to that, but who knows. All right, require full password after. So this is the situation where it's going to forget your quick pass, that first 4 characters or however many you've set up. So unblanking or resuming. So the screen's locked, the screensaver's on, and you undo it, and it comes back. It's going to forget the quick pass at that point. So if someone just walks up to it and it's already locked, and they move the mouse and undo the screensaver and they'd have to put in your full password to do it. And you can set that on or off. Or changing the logged on user in Windows. Or if you're idle for, by default, 15 minutes, and you can set this to whatever you want. It just means if you go 15 minutes without logging in anywhere, it'll forget your quick pass. And you could set that to an hour or 8 hours or whatever. However many minutes you want. But that's the point at which it'll forget the quick pass and make you type in the full password again. It's also really good about putting the quick pass in protected memory so it doesn't get down to virtual memory, and it's supposed to blank if the machine goes into hibernation or whatever. So all of that should be working. Warn of attempted attacks. You'll want to leave these on. Website spoofing and man-in-the-middle interception. We talked about this last time, how great the man-in-the middle protection is. How it'll, if you're using the same device login like I've been talking about, it'll tear down the session and create a new one. It's not going to be able to do that if you scan the QR code, but and automatically start SQRL. That just means it starts up with Windows. So let's save on that. Cancel quick pass. You can click that, and it'll just go ahead and forget your quick pass. You can change the password, and you can reset a forgotten password. And if you've forgotten your password and it needs to reset it, then you'll need your rescue code. So that's one of the uses for it. and then back up or export the identity. That's where you go and make like this page or display a QR code or save it to a file so you can pull it over to another device. And I think that should be about it. This should be enough information you need to at least get going with Squirrel. There aren't many websites that you can do it on, but there is a WordPress plugin for it. So if you're on a website and you like commenting on their blog and they use WordPress, ask them to get Squirrel on there. And that would be really cool. But I mean, right now you can do the URL at the bottom of your screen. Just going to close out of that. There we go. Now I have control over it. The URL at the bottom of your screen is squirrel.grc.com. And this is just a forum that's set up, and you can go through, read all of these, the What is Squirrel introductory Q&A. There's all these what if scenarios. What if something goes wrong? What if what if this goes wrong? What if I forget my password? What if someone else gets a hold of? There's all sorts of things like that. And then there's the regular forum topics you can go down here and participate in. You can log into that, of course, with Squirrel. So I can click a Squirrel login here. And boom, it wants my quick pass. I don't know why that came up. That should have already been set up, but never mind. So now it's registering as a new user, which I'm not going to do. This is just a demonstration, but at least on the Squirrel forum, if you want to come in and participate, you can make a Squirrel identity for that, or you can have a traditional username and password if you're not ready to jump over to it. So I think that's everything. So doesn't seem to be like a whole lot of incredulous questions there in the chat. So hopefully that means I've done a good job of explaining it. Otherwise, you can just go to the forum and read up on it and check out all of the other threads there, and feel free to ask questions. We've spent 5 years in the news group going over all sorts of different scenarios, all sorts of different potential problems and issues, and so we've got, I think, pretty much most of it covered. So come and join us, and hopefully you'll start seeing this on more and more websites soon. And I guess other than that, that's it. Sounds like websites seem to support to work. Yes, they do need to put a Squirrel server piece on the website for it to work. It's not like a password manager where you can just go ahead and use it everywhere, which is the think about it. You just got to wait for the websites to implement it. Hello, Scorch. You're coming in right at the end, so we're just wrapping this up. So I hope you like what you see, and I hope we start seeing Squirrel everywhere and we can log in. So until next time, stay strong and be free.